Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and I want to welcome you to this glorious new episode in which we are delving deep into Christmas-themed horror films. If you have been listening to our podcast over this great month of December, you've been realizing that we've been delving deep into a lot of different Christmas themed horror films because they're very popular with us around here. And I'm going to bring you yet another great Christmas movie to talk about, or at least one that you should be talking about because you probably never heard of it before. And that film is The Mean One from 2022. And to speak about this film with me, I have Miss Sonia Thompson back with us. It's so great to have you back on the show. Sonia, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me back. I enjoy co-hosting these things with you and some of the other people that I get to review with. It's just been, I'm sorry I haven't been around. I've been traveling, doing crazy stuff this year, for work and such. So, plus I got another grandchild, so I had to go see that, so I got two grandkids now. But anyways, but yeah. Thanks for having me back on to do this. This is really awesome. I'm looking forward to this one.
Well, it's great because we have you back to actually talk about a Christmas movie, and which is surprising because so many of our other previous episodes have been almost vampire themes. So it's good to talk about another one of these films that's out here. And this one actually is one that probably a lot of people have not actually heard about or seen compared to the other Christmas themed films we've talked about this month. So it's good to go ahead and delve into something like this. It's more of an indie film feeling, despite the fact that it is a twist on the concept of how the Grinch stole Christmas in a very horror aspect.
I agree. I was actually flipping through the channels on Tubi and came across this one, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to watch this!" And I started watching a little bit, and I was just like, "Oh man, yeah, we got to do this one." So I'm glad that we're doing this. This is a fun parody of this. Yeah, this is pretty cool.
So, similar to you, I came across this movie on Tubi of all places, and mostly because of the actor David Howard Thornton who plays Art the Clown. And I said, "Oh, I might as well watch this movie." He also did. I'm not a big fan of the Grinch or how the Grinch stole Christmas. I really don't. I may have grown up with a cartoon, but I was not very big fan of it, nor the Jim Carrey version, nor the remake of the cartoon or any of that type of stuff. But when someone decides to make a horror version of that, it actually thinks that I should go out there and watch it and see how fun the movie is. And because so many of these fairy tales, classic children's stories, and other such things have become into the public domain, we've been seeing a lot of them over the years. So this is very interesting that we're discussing this one, since obviously it's Christmas themed.
Exactly. I mean, I couldn't resist, right?
Yeah.
And I really like I like the way they did this one. I have to say that, when it first started out, I was a little hesitant in a little bit because it starts out about Cindy, who, when her Christmas stolen, she knew what to do. And, it was that whole, Dr. Seuss, type, writing throughout the movie and, with the little catchy rhymes and stuff. And the fact that they couldn't really reveal, they couldn't say Cindy who, they said Cindy, who. So I thought that was it's a very cleverly made and written movie.
Yeah, even when they don't call him the Grinch, although the scenes in the bar, they almost call him that, but then the bartender interrupts by saying, "Finch, looking for someone in the bar within the Finch." I don't know, did you catch that?
I did, and I think at one time it was like calling Mr. Finch again.
Yeah.
But every time they would go to say, he's the mean one is often called and it said Mr. Finch, and I was just like, calling Mr. Finch, order for Mr. Finch.
Yeah, you get the impression they were like trying their best not to mention the actual Dr. Seuss material, but everything more or less being in public domain, including the look of the mountain, the Mingin One's mountain, which I really liked the way that was.
Yeah, I did too. I thought that was really neat. From the distance, you saw the curl of the mountain, and it was very similar. I liked a lot of the similarities. I guess we'll call them Easter eggs, right? Because they were dropped in there, and anybody that's familiar with the Grinch,
Yes.
because the Grinch is copyrighted, even on Amazon when they're selling stuff, they have to call it the Mean One. So it has to. It has to be done that way because of the copyright stuff. But I thought it was very well done the way they did it and the way they dropped things like that. It was really cool. But I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And I'm just going to say it up front right now. I actually enjoyed this movie.
There's a lot to enjoy about this movie. I think by the movie going through and making it like a storybook, and like you said, the narrator starts off the film hiding every details, especially when it tells you that the story is not exactly the way you were told it was. Is part of the charm of this movie. I think if they had not done it, I think the film would not be nearly as fun as it actually is, because the Mean One does kill a lot of people in this movie. But
and the kills were very creative too, and there was a lot of blood, but it was very creative kills. It was I especially in that one scene, in that diner. That was massive. But it was very creative. I don't know if I want to give anything away on this, because I want to say about some of them, but then I'm like, well, can I just go ahead and say meat grinder?
You can. I will go into some of the details. I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie, much less heard about it. So I am going to go into some details about general plot and stuff for this one.
Okay.
So for everyone who's listening, this movie begins like a storybook story, but it kind of begins where the original story ends. The Grinch is the Mean One is putting gifts out at Cindy's house when she's a really young child. But her mother steps in and thinks that the Mean One is a monster right off the bat. And she attacks him. And then, of course, she ends up dying by accident. And Cindy ends up hating the Mean One and he ends up becoming mean because of his rejection from Cindy. And that's how the movie begins. So that's how it deviates from the original story to start off with. Now, this whole trauma, because the monsters are real in this movie, this whole trauma has led Cindy to be more or less put in the hospital for, I think, 15 years. I think 10 or 15 years. I can't remember exactly how many years she was in the hospital, but she was in the hospital because everyone tried to tell her there was no monster. She was just making it up, blah, 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 blah. But she has left the town in Newville. This is, instead of the Whatville, this is Newville.
Yep.
And people have tried to forget about the massacre that happened with her parents by completely disowning Christmas. They don't celebrate Christmas. They don't do anything that has to deal with Christmas or anything like that. So when Cindy and her father return home for the very first time since she was
20 years later.
How many years?
20 years later.
Oh, it's 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
She's fully grown up, but still traumatized by the night that her mother passed away. And when she gets into the town, her and her father don't know about these changes in traditions in Newville or why. But unfortunately for her, while her and the father decide to decorate the house that they're trying to sell, and to help Cindy get over her trauma, the Mean One reappears. And kills her father, and then brings back more trauma to her as an adult, but also brings in the other characters of the town, which includes the sheriff, the deputy, and then of course the mayor, who plays intricate parts in this film, which are detailed and goes through as the story unfolds. But the ideal of a monster hating Christmas because of the trauma that it was inflicted upon and bringing it out on its victims, and the fact that Cindy, as a grown up, is still traumatized by that same incident, is a very interesting dynamic for the film. So you have these two characters, the mean one and Cindy, who are both traumatized by the same thing that happened at the same night. And then, of course, the town becomes their kind of battleground, so to speak, of everything. Which I thought,
and I mean, which is very interesting. It is a very good dynamic about that, because it also, to me, brings a little bit of awareness to mental health and things that can happen.
Yes,
but I mean, it's true.
Yeah. But the thing is, what's also plays a part in this is the fact that the trauma that this whole incident has played upon the town. Now, I'm going to try not to reveal too much of the actual, all the backstory, because it is very interesting when you're watching it, and I'm not going to reveal it all because I know for this film, there are a lot of people who have not seen it. But just goes to show you that as Cindy becomes friendly with the deputy, Deputy Burke, who's only been in the town for like a year, and he doesn't know the traditions of that town as much as anyone who lives in the town.
Yeah, but he's also Jewish.
Yes, so, he's also Jewish, which brings another thing into this film in terms of like the religious aspects of this film. Some of those themes are not as developed as I would have liked, but they are there. And they do play upon certain comic aspects in the film as you're watching. Because the film has a very dark sense of humor to it. Not nearly as dark as the Terrifier movies, which Thornton was also in as Art the Clown, but still, they are dark. There are comedic and dark aspects to this film as well. And because of the way the film ends, it's almost kind of like it's where the movie kind of ends where it needed to end for the fairy tale aspect that's being told and presented in front of us, the viewer. So
exactly, which was rather odd in a sense. But, and I just want to also say at the very end, be sure to watch all the credits, because there's a little something there that might, be interesting to you as well. I don't want to give that away. But I was very, the ending, the way it ended, I'm just going to say, was, like I say, it was just, it was just like, okay, so it jumped from one type of movie to another. And I was just like, okay, but it also indicated that there could possibly be a second Mean One movie. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, well, I did. I did. The way it ended, of course. Something like this you have to build something in for a sequel. But I do believe that the way this story ended, it's very self-contained. I think I liked the movie because of the way in which it delved into the trauma between these two characters, and then how it was resolved at the very end. But as you're watching it, it's really fun because the Mean One doesn't speak. He is a non-speaking monster, so to speak. But there is a method to what he does and why he does it. Obviously, the trauma that was inflicted upon him with Cindy was a little child makes him hate Christmas more than anyone else, to the point that he kills anyone that's in the neighboring towns, or let me say this, it's surrounding his mountain. That will inflict his vengeance or pain.
Right. It makes him feel better to do it. Because of well, I mean, I think there's a little bit of guilt going on there too, on his part, but it's, I felt like, see, where was I going with that? But anyways, I feel like it was definitely interesting to see the character build up. Oh, I know what I was going to say. It's the actors. The acting was incredibly good in this. There's a lot of good actors, like the main, the main girl, Crystal Martin. She's actually been in American Horror Story before, a few episodes of that. She's been in Skeleton Crew episodes. She's been in CSI Vegas. The Flip Cobbler that played her father, Lou, in it, he's actually one of the writers. And of course, David Howard Thornton, I think what he did as Art the Clown in Terrifier is what helped him with this role as the mean one. I think that's what brought so much mischievous characteristics to the mean one, was his past experience as Art the Clown.
Ability to really do stuff with
great.
his body. Like, he does some really creative stuff with his body, just like he did as Art the Clown. And it works well for this character.
Yeah, I do believe so. And I mean, it was just very you could even see it in his eyes when he was playing this character. He was able to bring it through that way. And that is so important as an actor, to be able to use your eyes to, to bring something to life sometimes, whether it be a zombie, such as I've played, or any other creature type actors and stuff. It's more than just, it's all about movement and eyes and intention. And he did the acting to me was just really, really great in this. And, I really, really enjoyed it. I really did.
So I want to add something to what you just said, which is Thornton's performance shines through his eyes, but not just that. The makeup effects for the mean one is phenomenal. Like, you see all of the facial expressions on this character, especially because he doesn't talk throughout the entire movie. This is kind of the opposite of what we got in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, where one of the biggest complaints is the fact that the masks don't move. They don't look realistic enough. Whereas in this film, they are really well done. Really well done. And you get his performance as the mean one in this film. So I can appreciate that, especially since I like monster movies. So.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when I was doing a little bit of more research, because I wanted to, some of these actors did look familiar to me, and I wanted to kind of do some research on them, and so I did go up to IMDb, and as I was looking at the director, Stephen Lamort, who has done some stuff, some other really cool things, there's also a documentary called Christmas Chaos, Making the Mean One documentary, and just watching the trailer for that, it showed some of the facial movements, how they were done. Oh. So I'm interested now in finding that documentary to watch how they did all this. That kind of fascinates me as well, to which I like documentaries anyway. But I think that'll be fascinating to see what all they went through to bring this to life the way they did. And if you get a chance, go watch that, or at least go check out the trailer for it. And like I say, once again, that's Christmas Chaos, Making the Mean One. And so throw that out there. But definitely Tubi, go to Tubi, look up the mean one. Yeah, you got commercials in there, but hey, that's when you go get your food, go to the bathroom, so take advantage of that, but it's definitely worth a watch. And I like the way the transformation of Cindy, who made in the movie too, to go to face her fears. Let's put it that way. We'll just say to face her fears.
Well, you bring that up, and I actually want to talk about that, because in the third act, her character comes through a huge change for the good. Because she's been facing this fear that she's been told that monsters don't exist for 20 years. And the whole point of her going back to Newville is to face those fears. And it just gets exacerbated when she realizes that the monster is real. So it's really refreshing to see that this character takes her own fate in her own hands and decides to not only prepare herself to fight off the mean one, but also to set traps and everything else that comes with kind of trying to defeat the mean one. Kind of like what Nancy does in a Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, she picks up the book and sets traps in her house to go after Freddy Krueger. Cindy in this movie does something very similar, and I just really, really enjoyed that because it was refreshing to see that someone was using that influence on a much more modern film because it doesn't get done enough. We just kind of see that final girl or heroine run, 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 then try to defeat them at the very end by happenstance, so to speak. But in this one, we see her physically fight back and prepare herself. And I can enjoy that. I really like that.
And I do like the way they were very creative with her tools, her weapons,
Yes.
the way they did things. And I think you're going to find that very interesting when you guys watch this, because I was like, man, there was a lot of creativity put into this.
Yeah.
And, at first when they got back to the house and looked into the fireplace, it was obvious what was going to happen, but there was, that could have been a jump scare for some people. But for me, I was like, I know what's about to happen right now. Oh God, this is going to be one of those. But, it didn't take long for this to turn into something that I really enjoyed. And I know I've said that over and over again, but I really, the creativity, the cleverness of this movie was just off the charts.
Yeah, yeah, because some of the things that the Mean One does are direct references to the cartoon. I love that aspect. If you've seen the cartoon, there are certain things that will just make you laugh because the Mean One in this film does it, but it's refreshing to see it like a real monster doing it. I would say I'm sure some of that was done in the Jim Carrey version of the Grinch movie, but I don't remember that movie at all, so I can't say anything.
Same.
I can only say what happens in this movie and the original cartoon. Sorry, Jim Carrey, but I've only seen your movie once, and that was when it first came out. I don't remember anything about it. Sorry, maybe 1 year.
Same. Yep, same here. I have to agree.
I know how iconic that movie is, but you know what? I've only ever seen it once. I remember nothing from that movie. But I do remember the cartoon because we all grew up on it. I've seen it a billion times.
Yeah.
So seeing this one, I walked in with no expectations because I didn't know anything about it.
Well, me too. Me too. I had no expectations of it at all. And as I was saying, when I first started watching it, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, let's see. The acting's pretty good. I mean, I even thought even watching it, and from the very start, I felt like the acting was really great. And, and you could tell that the movie was shot with a good camera, and, so it was filmed with a good camera. It was, there was it was good lighting. It was good. It wasn't like they call it's a B film, but it's not like a B film that some of the indie films that you watch that everything's kind of a little off or the audio's off or something like that. I mean, I felt like everything was well edited. And that's a biggie for me when things are well edited. And the voice matching up with the person. So it started off on a good foot with me, with good acting and good film edits. So that was impressive to me. And like I say, at first when I saw she looked into the chimney, into the fireplace, I was like, oh, I know what's about to happen. I was like, oh God, this is going to be a predictable movie. But it ended up not being as predictable as I thought. So I'm just going to say it again. Go to Tubi, watch this thing. I think you'll enjoy it.
I will say that there are some great set pieces in this film. And I do like the fact that the Mean One does not take offense to anyone who doesn't have any type of Christmas spirit. One of the great set pieces I think we barely touched upon is the one in the diner with all the busload of Santas that the SantaCon people who drive into town for a bite to eat, but don't realize what they're getting into until it's way too late. That's a highlight of the movie because of what the Grinch is allowed to, or the Mean One is allowed to do and showcase. But the waitress of that restaurant is completely left safe. Not or why, but she's completely left safe because she's not part of this Christmas spirit. I like their rules with him. There
Yeah.
are definite rules. I do think that there is only one really bad choice that the filmmakers made with this movie. Just one really bad one. And that is what happens to the mayor. I don't believe that that was a logical resolution to the story with her character. I think
Yeah.
it I just think it came out of nowhere. And that's the only one. I was watching the movie, I was going with it the whole time, but for her character, for what happens to her character, I was like, they did this just to have a resolution with their story because they didn't have another way to do in their story, and I just
Hmm.
didn't believe that it was earned for the film. I think it was just a way for them to just write her off, and I thought it was a bad choice. Other than
Yeah.
that, I thought the rest of the movie went down fine. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know how you feel. I can get into more details. I just didn't know if you wanted me to or not.
Well, I mean, I just didn't. I'm scared to give away too much for people because I want to see stuff. It's like I felt like that did come out of left field the way they did. I think it could have been done differently. Because of some of the choices that her and the sheriff made. Let's just put it that way. Some of the choice that her and the sheriff made 20 years prior, and for her to be able to stay in the power as mayor, she was more concerned about her. She was very selfish, and I think they did it the way they did because she was the bad guy
Yeah,
in many ways, and she's the one that was feeding the monster, so to speak. And I think that it was just cause, but I think it should have been done a lot differently. If they were going to do that, I think it should have been done because it did seem like it came out of left field, but I really feel like it could have been done differently. But
that,
they probably had talked about doing it differently, and maybe they even filmed it differently, and that just ended up being the best of the three takes or something. Um, but it was a little it was a little kind of like, all right, where does this fit in like this? So I have to agree with you to a certain extent on that one.
I hope that filmmakers out there will stop writing movies with scenes in which a character's car breaks down and they
Mm.
have their demise at that point. Because
Yeah,
it is really cliche and
it
bad
is.
form for someone's car to just break down for no apparent reason in a horror movie. It's a
Hmm.
horrible setup. Um, and I thought that, yeah, the only details I'll say is that, and of course, Christmas music is the only music playing on the radio.
Hmm.
I thought that was a hackneyed ideal, and it was just not executed properly. But that's the only one I really did not go with in the entire movie. I really just did not like that. Now, the one thing I thought they didn't play up enough, like it's subtle throughout the whole movie, is the fact that he's got magic powers, the mean one. Like he
Yeah.
they were, I don't know if they were really clever or not. Or I don't know if it's a budgetary thing or not. But some of the he has magic, but it's really subtle. Like it's only in certain scenes, and I almost think that they should have gotten rid of it completely or played it up more. And I'm not sure what would have been the better choice. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think they, in a way, I kind of think they should have played it up a little bit more.
Okay.
Because it's someone, she referred to him as Santa Claus,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, Santa Claus has powers of being able to get down the chimney and do things like that, and so, what if the mean one was Santa Claus at one point?
It's interesting. That's quite interesting. We don't see what he was before Sydney's mother calls him a monster. He's simply
Yeah.
Santa Claus dropping off presents in the house. Absolutely right.
We have no idea what she saw, you know?
Wow, I did
So,
not think about that.
yeah. But it was kind of unique. Doc looked like Santa Claus.
Yeah, he did. And I love what they did with the Doc character. I really did. I didn't know where that was going, but by the third act, when he's helping Cindy at the house, I was like, "Oh my God, this is perfect. This is great."
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah. thought that was very interesting. The fact that he looks like Santa Claus.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of clever things in this movie that I had no idea about before I saw it because it
Mhm.
was not a movie that was really on my radar.
Like I say, I was just flipping through and I'm like, oh, this looks interesting, you know? I mean, because I am into more than vampire movies. It's just that, like you guys had already reviewed the Silent Night, Deadly Night. I didn't get in on that one, but that was one of my favorites back in the 80s. Um, and I guess they've probably remade it by now. But um,
About this year, if you didn't know.
I know. So it's like, but I know Tara Buckman. I hung out with her in PA this year. That was on Silent Night, Deadly Night. So I was like, man, I gotta go back and watch this again. It's been a bit, but I'm glad you guys are have already reviewed that and everything for this season. But I'll be looking forward to hearing that one. Well, I guess I'm already going to be hearing it at some point because I mean, it's like, um, you just got to give me a chance to hear it because I don't always get to sit and listen to them. We put them out there and then maybe it's weeks later.
Yeah.
So anyways,
So, anything else you'd like to speak about on the mean one?
like I say, it was very cleverly done, great acting, great edits. I don't think it was a big budget, but to do what they did within that budget was pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a movie I would have loved to have been a part of. But yeah, I like the characters in it, but like I say, there were some things that I felt like they could have played a little bit more on. And to me, it kind of weirded. It kind of ended weirdly in one sense because I was just like, okay, it's just changed from one movie to another movie. But, it is a comedy horror movie, a parody of, The Grinch. But I thought it was a good take on it. And I really think that I really think that it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be initially. And that's when I started texting you like, hey, have you seen this? It's like, I think you need to check this out.
I will say that this is much better of this new age of reimagining old stories and classic fairy tales than the other ones I've seen this year, which have been The Slayer Man, Popeye's Revenge. What I saw Screamboat, which actually is by the same director who did this, by the way. Uh,
Okay.
uh, I just realized that the same director did both of them. I think this is a much better film, but one day I'll talk about Screamboat later.
Okay.
And Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Oh, and the other notorious one, which is Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares. I think I've seen all of those this year already. I think there's a couple more I still need to watch. And
Yeah,
this,
I think I saw something about Fiona, um, from Shrek. So I think I saw something on there this evening when I was looking through IMDb, and I'm like, Fiona. There's one about Fiona. So
there,
I don't know.
there's one about Betty Boop now, since she just got in the public domain. I've already seen images from that horror version of Betty Boop. So it is a trend, and it's a low budget movies for the most part for all of these. I don't see it dying anytime soon. I mean, they got me to
Okay.
watch all of the ones I just mentioned. So
Well, then I think you and I need to get to work on filming something then. So let's get to writing, boo. Let's get to writing.
what fairy tale you'd like me to rewatch? I mean, redo.
Pinocchio.
That one's done too. I haven't watched that one. Pinocchio one's.
Oh well, I, I have to see what hasn't been done yet, and then we'll go from there. We'll figure it out.
That's okay. There's like
Um,
5 Steamboat Willie movies now. So,
oh goodness.
with that, I want to thank you, Sonia, for talking to me about this movie.
Oh, hey, once again, thanks for having me on here again, and let's doing a review on this. I just, thanks for having me, and I enjoy doing this review. I really did. This was great.
So for everyone listening, what we love to do at the end of our little conversation is we like to rate the movie between 1 and 5, whatever we want to call them. What we do is we take an object or a thing or a particular moment in the movie and we rate it between 1 and 5, 1 being poor, 5 being absolutely amazing. Since Sonia, you haven't been here in a while, I'm going to start this off. Okay.
All right, that's good.
Okay. So, surprisingly, I'm going to give this one 3.5 Mean One Mountain Peaks is what I'm going to give it, because that is such an iconic thing with the story and we see it a lot. And I always got a kick out of it every time I saw it. So where on your spectrum would you place this movie?
I'm gonna place it right at a 4, and we're gonna call it Candy Canes for the Homer.
There you go.
Yeah.
So with that, I hope everyone out there, you've been enjoying this conversation about The Mean One from 2022. Please make sure to check out all of our other great holiday horror films that we've already released, including the ones up until the end of this month, and including our ones on the special Christmas December 25th release date. We hope that you will enjoy our show and come back with us in 2026 when we have some more amazing, great movies to talk about. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we hope that you have a pleasant holiday season, and please remember to give gifts to everyone and not that little bag of coal, or the mean one may be after you. Have a great day.
Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.